on the opportunities and choices women have around the world. And today is also a day when I think about what my life would have been like had my parents not migrated to Australia. They fled war-torn countries. And when I consider the options and opportunities and choices my cousins have compared to what my sisters and I have in Australia, it really puts my life and opportunities into perspective. So today we do acknowledge the plight of women all around the world who are denied opportunity and choice. But those same women who also can have those opportunities and choices if organisations like UN Women and others stand up and speak on their behalves, but also support initiatives that we can be involved with to provide those opportunities and choices. And today is also a day whilst we reflect on the plight of women all around the world, to reflect the plight of women here in our country, in our state, and what we can do. All of us can play our part in that. And certainly, when Minister Payne in the Young Liberals approached me and suggested I consider life in public office, that's one example of how supporting other women and supporting others' opportunities and choices can make a huge difference. So I'm very proud to say that we've done our part in New South Wales in steps to really progress those opportunities. And for example, we've set a new target that by 2025, but all senior positions in the New South Wales Public Service have to be held by women. But ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the most important things we've been able to do in New South Wales is provide opportunities for women who are victims of domestic violence, who are victims of any form of abuse, to have the courage through our court system to speak up, to know that they have the support to really be able to advance their lives and their opportunities. And I'm incredibly proud that we have the first minister in Australia's history dedicated to the safety and protection of women, dedicated to the safety and protection of families and children. So thank you so much to all of you for being sources of inspiration. Thank you to UN Women for taking a stand and for bringing all of us together at this awesome breakfast. And please know that every day that I live and breathe in my job is a day that I dedicate to improving the opportunities and choices for the millions of women across New South Wales. Thank you very much.
So more importantly, let me tell you some of the stats that you may need to know, because I'd like you to leave with specific numbers addressing some of the issues that are critical to women in the Pacific. So as you know, the Pacific region has some of the highest rates of violence against women reported in the world. Now, we heard that stat about globally 1 in 3 women experiencing gender-based violence, but when you come to the Pacific, that number increases to 2 in 3. And in countries where prevalence studies have been undertaken, up to 68% of women have reported experiencing physical or sexual violence by a partner in their lifetime. That's over 1 million women across the Pacific. And if we go into the highlands of PNG, that number is 100%. So as a woman, you will understand what sexual assault and rape is as part of being a woman. So that's why your investment today is so huge and guaranteed that we reduce those numbers dramatically. I'm so glad you raised the issue of TC Winston in Fiji, because cyclones are a season for us in the Pacific. They are not intermittent. And we also have been experiencing extreme floods and droughts and unpredictable weather due to climate change. Global research has shown that women and children are 14 times more likely than men to die or be injured in a disaster. And in a disaster emergency, women also face increased risks of sexual and gender-based violence. Unequal access to humanitarian assistance, such as food and shelter, loss of economic opportunities, and increased workloads. Now, you know women in general already do a large percentage of the house care. Imagine what that's like when your house has been blown down. Okay, Pacific populations are mainly rural and rely largely on subsistence activities. Women especially are heavily involved in informal economic activities. Women perform a greater share of food growing and inshore fishing activities, unpaid care and domestic work, and women dominate small-scale market operations. Between 75 and 90% of all market vendors in the Pacific are women. So these are women who want to make money. We want to make sure that we can help them do it. The Pacific also has the lowest levels of women in parliamentary representation in the world, 8%. So I'm always happy when I see women in leadership, because it's a great way to remind your neighbors to do the same. Of course, we have examples such as Hilda Heine, who is the president of the Marshall Islands, and of course, our own Deputy Prime Minister in Samoa, Fiame Mataafa.